The Green Bay Packers are going to be good or very good in 2025. There is no bad with Matt LaFleur. The word doesn't even exist in his own dictionary. They got their guy for the future at a wideout. Their Devontae Adams, the Jordy Nelson, the Randall Cobb, Donald Driver, Greg Jennings. I know all the Packers stuff, of course, the Bears stuff behind me. They have always had tremendous talent. Of course, it's been a little bit funny of how it's not been addressed as a first rounder, but Matthew Golden, holy smokes, this kid is talented and poses an immediate threat to every team that plays Green Bay. You need to circle that kid because he can take over a football game. They, of course, addressed that, and immediately the Packers have expectations of getting to the Super Bowl. That is what it is. This is the second year back-to-back. They made the playoffs 2 years ago, had a winnable game against San Francisco. Last year against the Eagles, the end of the season was a bit underwhelming because of the injury to Watson. Love had that weird injury and that loss to the Bears, which didn't feel good for Packer fans, obviously. And then the underwhelming performance against the Eagles. But in 2025, this is the year where Jordan Love continues to make another step. And can he limit the turnovers? We will see. Week 1, they've got the Lions at home, and an awesome opportunity to show them that they are getting off to that start that they want to. It's just a tough game. Detroit, even losing Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, the coordinators, which is often seen when a team wins the Super Bowl or gets to the Super Bowl. The first thing that comes to mind is Atlanta. They lost their coordinator in Shanahan, and then, obviously Quinn leaves. But that's what usually happens when you have a great team like that. But that wasn't the case. The Lions lost those guys after losing the divisional round. One goes to Chicago, the other one goes to the Jets. I have the Packers losing to the Lions week 1. Bear with me. Of course, it's the Lambeau opener. But Detroit has the pieces on offense to just make this a real back and forth type of game. And they're very similar to the Packers in the sense of, they want to run the football. Campbell wants to establish physical elements. Montgomery and Gibbs, of course, and that great offensive line, which will be like it's going to hurt losing Frank Bragno, but of course, that's why they went with Tate Ratledge, the guard out of Georgia, to fill in a smart move in taking him. And the Lions also got Tyreek Williams to shore in the middle of that defensive line next to Aleem McNeil, Aiden Hutchinson back. That Lions team, people forget how good they were on defense, even dealing with a number of those injuries. It's just the Commanders exposed a lot of it to allow people to forget. But it's 28-27. Might call it shame, but I would not. The Lions are a great football team. Week 2, they are at home. Thursday night football against the Commanders. It already becomes a big game because you're staring down the barrel of starting 0-2. You're like, this season just started. What is going on? Had all of these high expectations, almost fell over. Let's keep going. 26-20. The Packers beat the Commanders. Now, I want to get this straight. I'm recording this video a couple of weeks in advance of when you are watching it because my version of myself when you're watching this is in Africa. I'm seeing the wildebeest. I'm looking at the Great Migration. Going to be there for a couple of weeks to enjoy all of that out in a safari in Tanzania. So if there's anything I'm mentioning, there's an injury, that's tough. I just am not able to be aware of that because I'm recording this a couple of weeks in advance to keep the content flowing before the start of this season. But Jaden Daniels poses, of course, such a threat outside of the pocket. Can Lucas Van Ness turn into the guy that they drafted him to be? Of course, there's Quay Walker on that defensive side of the ball that you're looking to make steps. There's Devontae Wyatt, Kenny Clark. They have pieces up front. They got rid of, you guys sent Jair Alexander, released him, took the cap hit because there's Keyshawn Nixon and Javon Bullard in the back end, that there's a lot of confidence that Green Bay can maintain the production of takeaways like they had last year. I think they get a couple against Jaden and the Commanders, even with Laramie Tunsil. They get their left tackle of the future once again that they didn't have since they just sent Trent Williams, or here, just have him for a 3rd round pick. The 1-1 Packers at home, they will become 2-1 after they go to Cleveland to the dog pound and just thoroughly dominate the Browns up front. I have this game 24-10 because of the Browns not having any ability to throw the football down the field consistently, multiple drives in a row. Green Bay's got a better roster. They out-quarterback them, whether it's one of the 4 guys possibly that could be there. I don't need to name all 4, Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco, and the 2 they drafted, of course, that we're all aware of. It's been the story all offseason. I don't think it's that important or relevant. It's been overstated. Like, Cleveland's just not going to be a very good football team for the next couple of years. Maybe if they're bad enough to get a high enough pick and take a quarterback next year or the year after, then let me know about Cleveland, or if that kid Shedeur is actually playing good. But I don't think it'll be Shedeur Sanders. At least that would be an interesting storyline if he did make the start. But 24-10, running the ball, Josh Jacobs, everyone knows how good of a year he had, and he's like the centerpiece of that offense. Even with Matthew Golden, and Golden could have an 1,100-yard, 8-touchdown season, still that offense runs through Matt LaFleur, handing the ball off to his back. Sunday Night Football, of course, the Packers get tons of primetime games, as they should. One of the most storied franchise in the sport, next to the team behind me, at the Dallas Cowboys, at Arlington, at Prescott, and getting to see Micah Parsons chase after Jordan Love will be fun for me, but we're going to see Jordan Love evaded. He has like that ability that we saw from Rodgers to almost not like jump in the air, but just make a move, then he kind of flicks it to the outside, and having a dynamic playmaker with Golden. Of course, there's Watson and Reed and Dobbs and Wicks and Kraft. There's so many players that at any time can go off for over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. A win puts them at 3-1 heading into the bye, which isn't great. You win 3 games coming off the bye. Before the bye reminds me of the Bears last year, and they won 3 games before the bye. Of course, we don't need to talk about that. Then a Bengals matchup right after the bye, 3-1, hosting Cincinnati. The Packers haven't faced, I'll rephrase, that they haven't seen Chase and T. Higgins at this level with Joe Burrow with the elite processing. Of course, they've seen Jamar Chase and Jordan Addison in the high flying with Sam Darnold, but Sam Darnold's not Joe Burrow. That processing, his ability to navigate the secondary with his eyes, manipulate coverage, and just throw absolute lasers just on a dime, not crazy leverage generated from his lower half. He's such a talented thrower of the football because of how smart he is with the football in his hands. I've got the Bengals winning 42-24. Established, like, Green Bay might not be the Super Bowl team that we might be thinking they are, of losing a game like that. That's always what a question poses, because when you think of Super Bowl teams, you think of a team that just doesn't give up 30 points. That's exactly why surprising, like, big lot, like the Eagles losing to the Commanders last year. Of course, Hurts wasn't in that matchup. The Buckeyes losing to Oregon, giving up 30 points. Like, that's why they tore apart the whole defense and put Caleb Downs in the middle of the field, was because of getting scored over 30 points on him. After that, you have the, of course, Arizona Cardinals, and would love to see Marvin Harrison Jr. go up against Jair Alexander, but have the Packers moving to 4-2, a win at Arizona, and just making it tough for Kyler. I mean, essentially, the shorter quarterbacks, I've always not understood why you don't always have your 6'6" arm, which you can almost dunk a basketball standing straight up. I'm 6'4", and I can almost dunk a basketball without even jumping, even without great hops. And playing the Arizona Cardinals is the type of game where Green Bay will just lean on Jacobs, a big play to Golden on the outside, and then maybe Kraft in the red zone and coming up stops when they need it. 4-2, they're at the Steelers. Every game that a Packer fan will be looking forward to. Sunday night, Heinz Field, Aaron Rodgers, the last time the Packers will play the Steelers. Remember, in that big-time matchup with Rodgers, of course, in the Super Bowl against Pittsburgh, beat him. Now he's on the other side, playing for Pittsburgh, throwing passes to DK Metcalf. I've got a loss, 20-17. This is a bit more underwhelming than it will be painted as, like Jordan Love versus Rodgers, the Jedi Master versus the Padawan, and a lightsaber. But it's going to be some good defense of what you can see. Green Bay, of those takeaways, I can see like 4 or 5 total takeaways in that game. 4-3 Packers before they get a nice run here. A big win against the Carolina Panthers, 38-17. If you're following along here, that would move them. Put them at 5-3 on the season, beating the Carolina Panthers 38-17. Do not sleep on the Panthers next year. When they are playing any game, any week, Bryce Young could go off. Why? Because if you don't follow college football, Tet McMillan is a threat on the outside at 6'5", and Xavier Legette's like 6'4", 230, and he can flat out fly in the low 4.3s. Like, you think Matthew Golden's fast, I think he weighs like 180. This kid weighs about 50 pounds heavier than him and can run just as fast as him. Be aware of Xavier Legette. Like, this kid is an absolute burner and threat, but do have the Packers beating him 38-17. Do not take them lightly. The 6-3, the 5-3 Packers on a Monday night game against the Philadelphia Eagles at home. This is the measuring stick game. I know the Bengals game they're going to want earlier, but this is the game within the conference. The Eagles beat you last year. They shattered your hopes at the Super Bowl, and it just felt like it wasn't even a playoff game. It's like, where is the energy? It's the playoffs. Like, come on, what is going on? I understand that emotion. Like, it was weird watching it from the start. Like, there was no energy on the sideline on the road at Lincoln Financial. 26-24, the Packers beat them. They just have so much going into this. Of course, the measuring stick is against the team that won the Super Bowl last year, the reigning champs. That is like the matchup. That's the game that you want, and have them coming out on fire, stacked in the box, making Jalen Hurts get on the outside and beat them throwing the ball down the field, which allows me to think that the Eagles are going to score some points, 24, but they lose 26 with the ability of Matthew Golden to get loose. A game they would have lost last year that they win this year because of the difference as a playmaker that's on the team now in Matthew Golden. 6-3 Packers at the New York Giants. Closer than a lot of people will think because of that front four is going to keep the Giants in games. Have them being 4-13 though next year because of the weak quarterback play. Russell Wilson, Winston, Dart. It's going to take time. 21-13 have the Packers coming out the win at MetLife before they head to a home game at Lambeau against the Minnesota Vikings. 27-23 have them losing to Minnesota in this first matchup. You already saw Chase and Higgins. Now you see Jefferson and Addison for the first time on the season, quarterbacked this time around by J.J. McCarthy now. And Aaron Jones goes against his former team once again, and he decimated him last year. The Vikings went through the Packers twice, and it was like, whoa, like, this is not at all expected. That was like the measuring stick of like, whoa, Minnesota is actually a good football team. And the defense, Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave in the middle, like Dallas Turner is the guy Packer fans might not even know about. Whereas every Viking fan probably knows about Matthew Golden because this kid didn't even see the field on that Viking defense last year as a first-round pick out of Alabama as an edge rusher because of how good the players were in front of him. So a loss there drops Green Bay to 7-4 before a Thanksgiving matchup at the Lions. I've got them losing again to Detroit, 0-2 on the year, and a loss that puts them at 7-5 against Detroit. Thanksgiving, like just a tight game, maybe a late field goal that puts Detroit ahead of them to hold on to win one of those very fun matchups. Turkey Day. Hopefully everyone's around loved ones and family and being able to enjoy a great time with delicious food and great football. That is actually one of the better Thanksgiving days of football than we have seen in a while. Certainly better than last year. My goodness. 7-5 Packers hosting the Chicago Bears. I think that's a Packer win, 23-17. This Matthew Golden, I'm telling you, as well as Keshawn Nixon, is he going to be playing actually, or like punt returner like he has in the past, or kick returner? He's been an impact there. Remember a couple of years ago, he had like a surge where he had been like returning every kick back to like the 36-yard line. 23-17, they see Caleb Williams again at Lambeau Field. This time around, they beat him. I guess they're 0-1 against Caleb at Lambeau in 2025. Not that it mattered whatsoever. Kind of a meaningless game as you look at it. But 23-17, they beat Chicago. The Bears are going to be better. It's no doubt. And that's not just the nature of being a Bears fan with the stuff behind me. It's just you look at the players. The offensive line, 3 guys in the middle. Defensive line, 1 guy in the middle and on the edge, as well as they drafted 2 playmakers at the tight end spots, as well as the kid out of Missouri, Luther Burden, and then defensively, the kid out of A&M and Shamar Turner. But it sets up to be like a typical Bears-Packers score. Don't expect like a crazy amount of points, but also a cup scored somewhere in between 40 to 45 points. Got the Packers winning 23-17, improving to 8-5 on the season before they play at the Broncos, Mile High in Power, whichever you want to call it. 24-17, they beat Bo Nix. I'm excited for this because of Matthew Golden against Jahdae Barron, his former teammate Like, I haven't seen a single video about anyone addressing that. I bet there will be at some point as the people start to be like, oh, wait, yeah, the Texas guys are gonna be playing each other. Yeah, Johnny Barron's going to be covering Matthew Golden as well as the Defensive Player of the Year. They'll spend some time. Please tell me everybody's healthy. Just want to see the best football possible and the best players on the field. Those matchups got the Packers with the win, improving to 9-5 before the best football day we've maybe ever seen in the history of the game. I know the 3-game college football playoff was fun last year with 2 matchups in the AFC, but as NFC fans, it was like, okay, like this is incredible. But next year, Packers-Bears at Soldier Field, Saturday, December 20th. You've got Eagles-Commanders the same day, as well as the 3 college football playoff games. It's like the gods descended down and sent us, like, I'm not really religious all that much in the sense of be talking about this type of thing, but like, but the football gods descended upon us, and we're like, here we go, people. We're getting the best games of the season and the biggest moments. I've got the Bears winning 31-24. That Soldier Field will be electric. Of Chicago being a threat within the conference to make the playoffs. That is not to go all the way. Anyone can do it a given year, but it's not, doesn't appear to be year one with Ben Johnson as much as Bears fans would want to see it. But 31-24, a great game on that Saturday, and then might be 2 games even after that with the college football playoff and maybe even Commanders Eagles. But Bears posing those risks as an offense. They can stretch you vertically, and then there's Colston Loveland or DJ Moore over the middle. They can put Burden on the outside with Odunze posing threats, and then they still have Cole Kmet, who I've even mentioned. It's a tough offense to cover just because they were horrible last year protecting Caleb. Don't expect like that to continue unless like Dahlman, Jonah Jackson, and Tooney don't end up being as good as they were. Like, don't know, Wright struggled at right tackle, but the offensive line has gotten better. And 9-6 Packers before they go at the 9-6 Packers hosting the Baltimore Ravens. I don't like this matchup. I don't like any NFC team playing the Baltimore Ravens. Well, I guess we'll see in the Super Bowl. It'll be basically a 50-50 whether Baltimore blows them out or if it's a tough game. That's just the nature of the Baltimore Ravens games against the NFC. Honestly, more of them, like 75% of them have been blowouts. Packers could have seen Lamar Jackson. You remember that Rams Ravens game? Oh, what was it? Like 2019, 2020. I want to say 19, but it might have been after that when the Rams were like, we just couldn't see him. Like, we just had no idea how to stop that, and they couldn't. And then the final game of the year at the Vikings, a win and impossible scenario to make the playoffs, and they get a win at Minnesota, 25-17, and punch their ticket to the postseason. Again, the expectation every year is to make the postseason, of course, but it's for Green Bay to take the step. I don't see it specifically because of games on that schedule like Baltimore, like the Washington Commanders, and the Philadelphia Eagles, as well as the tough division that they lay in. Like that's the biggest reason. I think it could be 2 years. Like, they add another piece. Matthew Golden continues to establish. Love gets better. They bring in another guy like after Alexander. They do have the cap hit that doesn't allow them to be as flexible as they could get another guy in the offseason. It's in 2 years where I could see the Packers really making their hay. But 10-7, not terrible. Get into the playoffs and see what happens. Let me know in the comments whether you agree with this. If you think that I'm about right, I would imagine that people aren't going to be going crazy saying that I'm just making stuff up because it's the Bears stuff or whatnot. I'm really trying to make the best possible content and call it the way I see it possibly going. So make sure to subscribe, please. It helps me out a bunch. And let me know in the comments. I mean, that's so helpful to see the feedback that you have for the Blitz with Blender brand and what you want to see going forward from me. But anyway, make sure to subscribe and follow along for more content as we get ready for the NFL season. Come on now, so fired up, and I will see you next time. Thank you.
Best player in college football.
That Georgia and Ohio State game, New Year's Eve, is going to be a classic.
Josh Blender, hi everybody, I'm Josh Blender.
To the 40, 35, 30, Espinosa to the 20.